I went to bed that night around midnight. I heard barking. We had a black lab, Max. He quit barking after a few moments, and I didn't hear another sound at all until 3 a.m. I'd wake to the sound of our door slamming up against the wall. I could see the silhouette of someone standing over us. Immediately, gun blasts began to go off. I'm starting to scream. Penny's screaming. We're being riddled with gunfire. I'm getting hit. And I remember throwing my body over Penny, trying to protect her. I took several shots in the chest and took a blast in the face, and then that shot blew me out of bed. I'm laying down in a pool of blood, and I'm trying to speak, but I can't. And I could hear heavy breathing. Somebody standing over me, and I could hear the reloading of the gun. I was shot 11 times. I could hear my wife screaming, saying, "Where's Terry? Where's Terry?" I would hear the voice of the killers. He told her, "Why don't you just die?" He put the sword that he had to her throat, and he rammed it in, and he slit her, nearly decapitating her. And every time she'd take a breath, I could hear the gurgling of the blood come out of her neck. Now I can hear my boy screaming out. I could hear footsteps going upstairs to my children. My 13-year-old son, Matthew, he began to cry out, "No, Charlie, no, please don't do this. Why are you doing this?" And for the very first time, I realized Erin's boyfriend, Charlie, was the killer. I really began to panic. I can't save her, but I gotta get to my children. But I'm trying to get up, and I'm just slipping them on blood. Matthew was shot in the head and in the back of the neck. They went into the next room, which was Erin's room, and Tyler was hiding in the closet. And they took this samurai sword, and they each took turns stabbing Tyler to death. I'm assuming at this point that even Erin was dead, and I just collapsed face down. I remember waking up, and I felt real hot. I realized that the house was on fire. I'm choking on blood and smoke, and as I climbed over the bed trying to get away from those flames, that's when I landed on the floor beside Penny, and just to see what I saw was just, can't even put it into words. I just witnessed the murders of my family. I knew I needed to get help and get to my neighbors, but they lived about 400 yards away. I'm on my belly and I'm literally just dragging my body like that. At some points I would find trees and I'd pull myself up, hold on, and I would take 1 or 2 steps and I would collapse and fall face down in the dirt. I said, "God, just let me make it to my neighbors. I gotta identify the killers." The door slings open and there's Tommy Gaston, my neighbor, looking down at me, and he just has this look of shock on his face. I said, "Penny and the boys are gone. Charlie did it. Charlie did it."
Charlie Wilkinson was found within just an hour or two of the murders, laying on a mattress in the back of Charles Wade's brother's trailer. They noticed a pistol laying right by his hand, which turned out to be the murder weapon. There were bullets and ammunition found. They were about to let Charlie put his boots on, and there were what appeared to be blood droplets on the boots. They took him into custody right then. After the detectives took Charlie in to be questioned, they went and asked for a search warrant and got it to go back in to search for evidence. And one of the officers was looking through piles of clothing, and he came across what he thought was a large stuffed animal. And when he touched the hair, he realized it was a human being, and that was Erin Caffey. Erin was found under a pile of clothing by a closet in one of the back rooms of the trailer, laying in a fetal position. She appeared to be disoriented, and she said, "Where am I?" When officers attempted to ask her questions, all she said was fire.
Before I was rushed into surgery, my sister came to me and told me that my daughter Erin was alive. I heard that I had something to live for.
The belief was that she was a victim. So she was taken to the hospital for a sexual assault examination. One of the most striking things about Erin is that she made reference to the fire in the house while she was in the house, but she did not smell of smoke at all. Very early, they informed him there had been a surviving victim and that he had been identified as being one of the shooters. He said that this had been Erin's idea and that she had wanted her parents dead. He had suggested that Erin just run away instead, but Erin's response to all of this was no, just kill them. Eventually, he implicated Charles Wade and Bobby Johnson. Charlie told the officers that he had asked Charles Wade to help him and that he had promised him $2,000, and that Charles Wade was behind on child support, so he agreed to do it. Charlie told officers that Bobby Johnson was just along for the ride. Shortly after Charlie's interview concluded, officers went out to find both Charles Wade and Bobby Johnson. All three confessions matched up. Both Charles and Bobby in their confessions made reference to, as they were driving off, Erin making a comment, "Holy that was awesome." After Erin's examination at the hospital, she was released to her grandparents. The three of them were driving to the hospital to see Terry. There were officers escorting them. Those officers were radioed that Erin had been implicated.
Erin, I'm Dr. Phil. How are you? Why are you here?
For the murders of my mother and two brothers.
You pled guilty because you are guilty, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
What did you do that made you part of this murder?
I knew about it and didn't say anything.
Tell me how this all happened.
I met Charlie and things were going good. My mother and father didn't really like him.
Right.
And the first time he ever mentioned, that he wanted to kill my parents was, after Christmas, that he had gave me a ring, proposed to me, and my parents, didn't want us to.
And it was a promise ring, not an engagement
Yes,
ring, right?
yes, sir.
And you said that he brought up killing your parents, right?
Yes.
Why was that necessary in his mind?
I don't know. I guess he said it out of anger the first time because me and my mom had gotten into a fight.
So it was 2 months plus a little bit
Yes, sir.
that this had been talked about.
Yes, sir.
Did at any time during that 2 months, did you say, well, wait a minute, what do you mean kill my parents?
I really didn't think that he would follow through with it. I would just ask him questions like, how would you do that? Instead of just saying, whoa, stop.
Well, let's fast forward to that night. How does this go down on the night that it happened?
We had talked at school that morning, and he said, just let's kill your parents. We'll, run away to Maine together, and everything will be okay. I'll call my friend, and I'll come pick you up at 12. And that night around 11:45, I knew he was out there, so I made a phone call. I said, where are you at? And he said, well, hurry up and get out here, and hung up. So I walked out the house and picked up my little dog Buddy and was petting him all the way to the end of the driveway. Before I knew it, there was a car that came, and it was Bobby and Charles.
All right, so you're outside, and he says, I'm here to kill your parents, so what happened?
I go to get in the car, have no shoes on, no nothing, and he's griping at me for not having, being ready, and not having my bags or anything. Then we drive down to this rundown church. We were trying to get out of it. Oh, we'll just run away. But, they kept egging me on about, and I just guess it was feeding into it.
So did you finally say, okay?
Yes, sir.
You finally said, okay, go kill my parents, my mother and my father. The woman that brought me into the world, people that have fed me and clothed me and housed me and loved me every day of my life, sure, go kill them.
Yes, sir.
Did you see weapons then?
No, I didn't see weapons.
How did you think they were going to kill them?
Well, I knew they were in the back of the car because I heard slinging and banging.
They were getting weapons.
Yes.
What did they do that was so bad that you were willing for them to be killed?
Nothing.
Did you think about the next morning, my parents will be dead? You had 2 little brothers in the house. What was going to happen with them?
I didn't really think about that too much.
Did you think they were going to be killed?
Crossed my mind, yes.
Even now, as I sit with her in prison and ask her to reflect back, I said, when you found out he was alive, were you more glad or more scared? And she said, I was more scared. Mm-hmm. She was more scared than glad that you were alive. Mm-hmm. Because she said, I knew now I'm in trouble.
I see what she's saying here. She is glad I am alive, that she has a parent left, but I think she is also scared I'm busted. You know, I'm going to be found out everything that I've done.
Because at that point she knows I can't lie about this and get away with it.
Well, it's apparent they're covering stuff up. This has been going on for over a month that we find out that they've been discussing this.
I asked her, why did you want your family dead? Was it because of freedom? And she says, yeah, maybe.
Well, you know, certainly Charlie's a sociopathic type personality. He was very controlling, always had to know where she was. He tried to isolate her from her family and friends. And I believe that, you know, he was convincing her that, you know, your parents are too strict. They're not allowing you to have fun. You know, let's go out and have fun. Don't listen to them. They don't love you like I love you. And so she began to make one bad choice after the other.
Having a girl controlled by a boyfriend is nothing new. But taking the steps to plan out to murder her mother and father and 2 little brothers, that's a huge leap from I love you, they don't. Let's go kill them all. Let's talk about the night that this happened before it all happened. I understand that night was a pretty typical family night. In fact, you guys had just had a pillow fight.
Right.
Was she involved?
She was. She seemed normal. There was nothing indicating that there was something wrong.
You realize now, at the time she's doing that, she knows not one of you will ever see daylight again.
And that's what's been hard for me to wrap my mind around, because she seemed so normal, so happy at that moment.
She's laughing and playing
Yeah.
and cutting up, knowing you will be murdered within hours.
16 years old, does she really comprehend really what's about to take place?
But you understand, that's a pretty black and white thing. I've either got people coming here tonight to kill my family or I don't. And as we now know, this wasn't a spur of the moment anger sort of thing. She had been involved in the planning of this.
Right.
That sounds to me astoundingly disconnected. For her to be able to do that knowing what's going to happen.
But I think you've got the catalyst here of this teenage girl who has been making bad choice after bad choice.
A bad choice is missing curfew. A bad choice is getting pregnant. But executing a plan to murder your entire family, bad choice just doesn't seem like big enough words to wrap around that. When I went to interview her, not minutes after I was gone, she called you, did she not? And said, don't you go talk to him. Don't you be involved with him, because he's trying to make me out to be a monster and say that I'm the mastermind of this whole thing, correct?
Correct, correct.
So what she told you isn't true.
Right.
Did she characterize my interaction with her accurately?
No.
So it tells me she's continuing to try to do that.
What I don't understand, if she hadn't, but at this point not changing her mind or had any second thoughts, why wasn't she fully dressed, suitcase in hand, and ready to go? When she got in the car with those guys, she was bare feet, pajama bottoms, t-shirts, like 39, 40 degrees, no bag at hand. She's telling me that she had changed her mind, went down there and said, just go, we'll talk about this at school Monday, just go. As far as the dog barking, she said, I was afraid that you guys were gonna wake up and find out what was going on.
When you asked her about it that night during a visit to the prison, she said that they just planned to run away. Okay, well, if it was a plan to run away, then I'll ask you what you just asked me. If she was running away, why did she go out with no shoes and her pajamas and leave her bag inside?
Again, I'm not denying her involvement, because I told her from the very beginning, Erin, you just need to tell the truth, no matter what that is, and we'll deal with it. And again, just whether she was planning on running away or murdering her family, they talked about both. But I'm just seeing her having second thoughts at this point.
Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what in the world is going on.